Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and this is a compilation video. So these are all the different waffle stitches that I have made over the past 6 months, I guess. So we have the normal waffle stitch, we have the waffle stitch made into a granny square, and we have the slanted waffle stitch, which is absolutely amazing. And then we have a rectangular continual waffle, which is like saying a granny rectangle, then I guess you could say. So I hope you enjoy these. Now, just a little word, normally when I do a tutorial, the right-handed and the left-handed are on the same video. But with the compilations, they are just standalone. So this is either the right-handed version or the left-handed version, but there will be one of the other. So if you find yourself in the wrong one, rest assured, I will put a link to the other right up here now. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do my version of the waffle stitch. I've seen a few different ones. Everybody does different multiples, but I think mine is quite simple, so I'm going to stick with it. For this I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook, and I'm using this Stylecraft Colour Burst yarn, which is a DK weight, but the strand itself is not overly fat. So with the waffle stitch, I always like to go up hook size, at least half, sometimes a whole size, and I would use normally a 4 with that. So I could go up to a 5. I'm going to give it a try with a 4.5 because it doesn't, as I say, look very thick. You also need a pair of scissors and a darning needle, but you don't get many ends, only when you join. So yeah, this yarn, let me just give you the rundown on it then. It is really squishy soft. It's premium acrylic and polyamide. You get 320 meters or 349 yards in a 100-gram ball. There's a link in the description box to my shop, and where you can get all of these stuff that I'm using, including the Wool Genie, which I've just set up. So just a little word about this tutorial then. If this is a standalone stitch tutorial, there is a left-handed version that will start when the right-handed one finishes. But if it is part of a compilation, then that will be separate. The right-handed and the left-handed will be separate. So also, if you could like and share this video, maybe hype it, it does help my channel. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button or the notification bell as well, and you can be informed when new videos and you won't miss any. Okay, so for this we're going to make a slip knot, and if you're going to sew the end in, you need to leave a nice long tail for that, but this is just a swatch. So you need to do multiples of 3 plus 1. Okay, so that is the multiple for this particular waffle stitch. You might have seen others, but mine is 3 plus 1. So to do a chain, we yarn over and pull through the loop that we've made, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. So I've done 3. Now I'm going to do 31, and that is multiples of 3 plus 1. Okay, so I shall pause the video then and come back to you once I have my chain, so that I don't put you off while I'm counting or have a really long silence. So I shall come back when I've done them. Okay, so I have my 31 chain. I love the colour of this, by the way. It's called Stars. I forgot to tell you, Stars. So what we're going to do now is in the second chain from the hook. So this is our loop, this is our first, and this is the second. I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those, and that is a UK double crochet or a single crochet in the US. I'm not going to stop there though. So in this left leg of the stitch, I'm going to reinsert my hook, and I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both of them. So that has given me the height of 2 chains, and it is a stacked UK double crochet or a stacked single crochet in the US. So that's how the beginning of all of my rows are going to start. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. Got 3 on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So that in the UK is a treble crochet, and in the US it's a double. So if you work in American terms and I say treble, you'll know I mean your double crochet, and I don't want you to yarn over twice, because that's what you call a treble. So nice and simple then, we're going to do 1 UK treble crochet in every single chain all the way to the end. I might have made my chains a tad baggy, but never mind. That loop is trying to get away from me. Did you see that? So 1 in every single stitch all the way to the end. It's very silky, this yarn. I probably should have used a less slippy hook, maybe. So that's what we're doing all the way to the end. I will pause it then and I'll catch up with you once I've gone all the way to the end of this chain and done my row of UK treble crochets. Okay, so I've made it all the way to the end of the row, so I'm just going to turn my work, and in that first stitch there, I'm not going to chain, I'm going to straight away do that stacked stitch that I did at the beginning. Because it's called different names in the US, I will just call it stack, okay, so that it doesn't get confusing. Okay, so this is the very first row of our repeat. Sorry, if you hear any noises of DIY, my partner Gary is making a flat pack bit of furniture in the other room, so there is a bit of noise. I'll try. I did sort of mention I was recording, so hopefully it won't be too loud. So what we've done is this is the first stitch, and this is the equivalent of a UK treble crochet. Now the next one we're going to do a front post, so we're going to yarn over and we're going to go in between the stitch and out the other side, and we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull it up. We need to pull it up, otherwise our work will drag down. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So in the next 2 stitches, and you can see the stitch behind, we don't need to go into there, that will cover it. The next 2 we're going to place normal UK treble crochets, just 1 in the next 2. And then we're going to go around the next one again and do our front post stitch. So we're going to go through, pull it up and complete that stitch. Okay, and then we're going to do 2. So 1 and the next one. So that's our repeat then. Until you get to the last few stitches, we're going to do our front post. Don't forget to pull it up. Not too high, but we want to make sure that our work is the same height as our normal treble stitches, which we need to do 2, and then we're going to be back to doing our post. Okay, so I'm going to pause it. That's the repeat, front post and 2 normal treble crochets after that, all the way until you get to the last few stitches, and I'll come back and show you what we do at the end of the row. Okay, so we've reached the end of our first of our repeat rows, and we've got 2 stitches remaining after we've done our 2 normal UK trebles. So we're going to do a front post around that one, and then in our last stitch we've got the 2 loops of our stack there to go into, and we're just going to make 1 treble in that last stitch, and then we're going to turn our work. Okay, so and then in the first stitch we're going to do that stack again, nice and simple. Now when you look, you're going to see that these 2 stitches are sticking forward, this one is sticking behind. So we've got sticking behind, 2 sticking forward, sticking behind, 2 sticking forward. So if they're looking like they're behind, that's because we go in and do a normal treble. And the ones that are facing forward are our front posts. So we're going to do the 1 treble and 2 front posts. So we're kind of doing the opposite this time around. So this one is at the back. It's sometimes easy to not see it because it does hang back, but we're going to do a UK treble crochet in that one, and then 2 front posts. And then the next one is at the back there, normal treble, and then 2 front posts. So as you can see, these stitches, they do kind of get a little bit squashed up, I guess you could say. And that's kind of normal with the waffle stitch, which is why I always go up a hook size, because it gets quite tight if you don't. So ordinarily I wouldn't use a larger hook with this yarn. Okay, so that's 2. Did I go in the wrong thing? Yes, I did. Wasn't being very observant there, was I? So 1 normal, and then 2 sticking at the front. So after a while, after you've repeated your repeat rows, this is the second repeat row, it'll become kind of second nature to do this. Okay, so that's the repeat then. 1 normal, 2 front posts, 1 normal, 2 front posts. But don't make the mistake that I did and go round once you've done your normal one in the wrong stitch. See, some people would edit that out, but I keep it in because I like you to see that we make mistakes too. So yeah, my next 2 are front posts, then 1 normal, and I want you to do that all the way along. And when you get to the last few stitches, I'll come back and show you how we end the row. Okay, so I'm almost at the end, and this was my normal one. I've got 2 front posts to do. 1, 2, and then at the end we have 2 stitches remaining. So we've got 2 normal treble crochets, just like we did at the beginning of the row when we did the stack and the treble crochet. So I'm going to turn my work, and now you can see it's starting to look kind of grid-like. I did one earlier, but I thought this yarn seemed just a little bit too dark in places to use, but I used a 5mm crochet hook with this, and it's quite a thick DK, and you can see that's how it kind of works up. So the last 2 rows are our repeats, so we're going to go back and repeat not the first row because that was just a foundation, but the second row. So rows 2 and 3 are our repeats. So we're going to do the stack, and the very first stitch that we do after that is a front post stitch, and then we've got 2 normal treble crochets, and then we've got a front post. So this one, the reason it's squashing down is why you need a larger hook. So then 2 normal treble crochets, and then our front post. That didn't go in the right place. And then 2 normal. That's our repeat to this row. Front post when it hangs forward, and when it hangs back, normal treble crochets. Okay, I'm going to pause it then, and I will catch up with you when we get to our last few stitches, and we'll see what we do at the end. Okay, so I'm all the way to the end. I've got to do my last front post, and then my last stitch, which you should be able to find the nice 2 loops at the top of the stack stitch to do my last UK treble. Turn my work. So the back doesn't look too ugly, but the front obviously is where the waffle stitch is. But see, there we are. And then if you turn it, it doesn't look awful on the back. So this is now our second repeat row. So we've done the first one again, we're going to do the second one again, and we're going to do that little stack. So if we look at our stitches, you can see what you've got to do next, because this one's hanging back, so therefore it is a normal treble, and these two are sticking forward, so they are front post. And that's the repeat this time. 1 UK treble crochet, 2 front post treble crochets, and 1 normal, and then 2 front post. So when you work with this stitch, when you finish, you should always finish on row 2 of the repeat, and then you're free then to do a nice border, but you need to finish on row 2. Okay, so that's the repeat for this row. 1 and 2 front posts. Okay, I shall see you at the end of the row. So I'm at the end. I've got my last 2 front posts of this row, and then I should have my one that hangs back and my last stitch and turn. So now you can see that waffle stitch is really starting to appear, and we're just going to keep repeating those 2 rows. So what I'll do now is I'm going to pause the video, because otherwise I don't want it to be too long, and I'm going to do a bit more and then come back and show you what it looks like. So that's what a good few rows will look like, and I really like that. That's kind of cute. Now the edge is, doesn't matter what you do at the edge, because you're doing this front post, it will kind of give it that kind of pulling in and sticking out vibe, because these rows, they do kind of scrunch it in and everything. So now that I've got to that stage and I've finished on row 2, the reason you want to finish on row 2 is because you want this line, this kind of waffle line. But if you look at the bottom, because we did this row here, it doesn't really look right. But if we did a whole row of UK treble crochets, then that would just be too tall, because these front posts have kind of like spiked, dropped down. So what we need to do is a smaller stitch to finish this off. Okay, so I'm going to do a UK half treble rather than a treble. And to do that, I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to pull it right down. So I do that to end this stitch off, because if you do a half treble straight into the first stitch without that chain, you get like a little funny line, a little funny loop that sticks out the side. Okay, so without any chains now, I'm just going to go straight in, yarn over, go in the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And I'm going to do that again, yarn over, go in the next, both loops, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all of them. And that's what I'm going to do. That's called a half double crochet in the US, and we call it half treble crochet in the UK. I'm just going to do one of those in every single stitch all the way to the end, just to finish this off so that it looks more, well, similar to the beginning. So if I take it out, you can see it now kind of resembles this. Obviously a whole UK treble would have made it that much higher. It would have been sort of up here, and I think it would have looked a little untidy. So I'm going to pause it then. I'm going to do that all the way to the end, and then I'll come back and show you how that looks finished. There we are. So I'm all the way to the end. So if you'd made, say, a scarf or a blanket, you now have the top and the bottom looking more or less the same, and you're free then to put whatever border you want to on all around it. So what I would do is I would straighten this edge up with also with half trebles or with double crochets, which are singles in the US, and just make my border. But that's how I do my waffle stitch. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye for now. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and in this square I'm going to show you how to make this really cute waffle square. Okay, so I do this one slightly differently to how I normally make my squares, because you have to turn your work to achieve the waffle, and so my corners are different this time around. So I'm going to use darning needle, but it's only for the end really. I'm going to use a larger crochet hook than the yarn recommends, because it's quite a tight stitch if you don't. So I'm jumping up to a 5mm with this DK weight yarn and a pair of scissors for the end. You can change colours, of course, if you want to, but I'm going to make it all one colour. And this one's quite interesting, but it is a darkish colour here and there. So I'm not going to do it with this yarn. I'm going to make it with this one, which is a yarn that I get in Poundland. It's a Hobby Essentials. Now the yarn band's pretty useless, but they call this baby pink, which, yes, it does have pink, but it's got a multitude of other colours. And I do sell this in my shop, hobbyrocks.co.uk, as a yarn bundle. Okay, so I'm just going to set this up on my wall genie. And while I am, just to tell you a little bit about the square then. This, if it's a standalone granny square tutorial, then the left-handed version will be at the end of the right-handed, and there'll be a timestamp in the description box for that. If this is part of a compilation, the left-handed one will be separate. And also, if you could, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and hopefully you'll be informed when a new video pops up. And if you could like, share and hype this video, really does help my channel. So to start this then, we are going to do a slip knot, and you can do that however you normally do. Okay, and we're going to chain 4 and make a ring. Whoops, just bear with me a second, the postman is here. Okay, sorry about that. So 4 chains, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now we're going to slip stitch into the very first stitch to form a ring. It's not a massive ring, but it is there, and if you pull it apart you can see it there. So my very first stitch is going to be a stack double crochet, which is a stack single in the US. And to do that, I insert my hook into the center of the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. I yarn over and pull through both of those, and then in this left leg here I just reinsert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both of them, and it gives me the height of 2 chains, but it gives me a more solid stitch than just 2 chains. So I'm going to end this in the same kind of space in that center of the ring. I'm going to make a UK treble. Now I'm going to work in UK terms, but UK double treble is a US double. Okay, so if I say treble, I don't want you to yarn over twice as you normally would if you work in American terms. It is just your double crochet. Okay, so we're going to do a UK treble in there. Okay, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to place 2 more. And chain 1. Okay, we're going to do that twice more. And what we're going to have at the end of this are 2 trebles, 1 chain, 2 trebles, 1 chain, and we'll have 4 sets of 2 trebles. I'm just going to pause the video then, and I shall come back to you once I've completed that ring. Right, so I'm at the end. I've done my last set. I'm going to chain 1, this is different from my normal, I know. And I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my stack there, which I will call it the stack because that's it's called something different in America to UK, so I don't want to cause confusion. So we just call it the stack. And you can go in the nice 2 loops at the top of the stitch and just slip stitch into that stitch. Okay, so now we have, I've cut my tail so it doesn't get in the way and cause problems. So now we're going to turn our work and we're going to slip stitch into this space. Okay, and we're going to do another stack in that space, just as we did before. Now these 2, we're going to front post treble crochet around them. So we're going to yarn over, we're going to go around the back and out the other side. We're going to yarn over and pull it up. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And we're going to do that again in the next one. So yarn over, go round the back of the stitch and out the other side. Pull up a loop, pull through 2, through 2. So this is the back side of the work as we've just turned. So the first row being the front side. So our corners are different on the front and the back, which is what helps us create the waffle. So we're going to do a corner of 1 UK treble crochet, 1 chain, and another UK treble crochet. And then we've got our 2 stitches again, which we're going to do the front post treble crochet around. Don't forget to pull it up a little way and 1 around the next one. We're back at the corner, which again is 1 treble crochet, 1 chain and 1 treble crochet. Okay, so that's our repeat then for this particular round. Let's call it a round when it's a row and a row when it's a round. And you can see we've got a little square forming. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that all the way along, front post around my 2 trebles and the corner. Okay, so I'm going to catch up with you once I get back to this one here. Okay, so I'm back at the corner and I just need to do my last UK treble crochet in there, my chain 1, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that first stacked stitch there. Okay, so it's making a nice little square. I'm going to turn my work again and I'm going to slip stitch into that chain space. And I'm going to straight away do my stack. I'm going to chain 1 and place 2 in the same space. So this is kind of a it's 3/4 of a corner. And this is how we're going to have to do the corners to turn our work, okay? So right now, we're going to work on the corner here. So we've got, if you look at them, we've got this one sticking out a little bit, this one sticking out a bit, and these 2 drop back just a little way. So we're going to front post around that stitch. And then in the next 2, we're going to do normal UK treble crochets. 1, 2. That's the ones that are hanging back a little bit. And then in this one here, we're going to front post. And then we've got to the corner. So we're going to do a full corner this time, which is 2 UK treble crochets, 1 chain and 2 UK treble crochets. Okay, so looking at it again, you can see this one hangs forward and this one, and these 2 drop back. So we're going to go around a front post on that one that comes forward. Don't forget to pull it up. And then we're going to do 2 normal trebles in those ones that sort of hang back. And then this one, we front post again. So when we've got a front post, we front post. And when we don't, we just treble it. And as you can see, we're making that corner a little bit more proud. So we're at the corner again, which is on the right side, 2 UK treble crochets, 1 chain and 2 UK treble crochets. Okay, So I'll do this once more. Well, I'll show you this once more. We'll pause it because I don't want it to get too long. We front post, we treble, treble, front post. We do a full corner. We front post, treble, treble, front post. And once I get back to this front post, I'll catch back up with you again and we'll finish this round off. So we're back, and as I said before, we had 3/4 of a corner, so we're going to finish that off with one more UK treble crochet, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of that stack stitch and then slip stitch into the chain space. Okay, looking good. Okay, so we're going to turn our work and we work on the back again. So what we're going to do is our stack in here. Remember, on this back row round, told you I always say it, then we will be doing our corners differently. So the first 2 stitches are front posts. So we're going to do front post and front post. And then we've only got one that's hanging back. It's easy to miss those. So make sure you just do a normal UK treble crochet in those ones that hang back. And then we've got these 2 sticking at the front again. We're going to do our front posts around those. So we start with 2 front posts and we do 1 UK treble, then 2 front posts, and then back to the 1 UK treble. And just as we started this side with 2, we finished with 2 front post trebles. 1 and 2. So this is the back, which means our corners are 1 UK treble, 1 chain, and 1 UK treble crochet. So if you're a little bit tighter crocheter than I am, then you might want to do 2 chains, but because we're using a larger hook, I don't think you need 2. So here we are again along the side, 2 front posts, 1 normal, 2 front posts, 1 normal, 2 front posts. Okay, nice and easy. Looks harder than it is, I think, this square. And then don't forget that one can kind of hide from you as it hangs back there. Then 2 front posts. And then 1 normal one. And to end this side, 2 front posts. And the corner is normal, 1 UK treble crochet, 1 chain, and 1 UK treble crochet. Okay, so I shall pause it then, and I want you to carry on doing that. We've got our full corners, and then 2 1 2 1 2 full corner, 2 1 2 1 2, and I'll come back to you. We'll finish this off and we'll turn our work and get on with the next round. I'm all the way back to the corner, so I'm going to finish that off with my last treble in that chain space, chain 1, and slip stitch to the top of my first stitch. Okay, so basically I don't chain 1, I just slip stitch straight into that corner. I don't want to make this too bulky, even though we're working over it. Okay, so my first stitch is that stack stitch. I just prefer doing that to turning chains, but if you prefer turning chains, then by all means do. Chain 1 and 2 more UK treble crochets in this space, 3/4 of a corner. So remember, this particular round, our corners are 2 trebles before our chain and 2 after. The only thing is, once this starts to grow, you can sort of get on and watch TV and do this, but you have to kind of bear in mind what you're doing with the corners. They are different on the other row. So the first stitch here is hanging forward, and therefore is a front post. Okay, so now we've got 2 normal trebles. And now we've got a front post because it's hanging forward. And now we've got 2 normal trebles. And that is the repeat for this particular side, front post and 2 normal. And then just as we start with the front post, we end with a front post. And our corner is 2. Chain 1 and 2, because we are the right side facing. Okay, so that is our repeat. Front post, 2 normal, front post, 2 normal, front post, 2 normal, front post, full corner. And then we're going to go all the way along this side the same, and all the way along this, and I shall catch up with you once we get back to the start. I've made it back to the start again, so I just need to do my last stitch, because remember that was 3/4 of a corner, and then slip stitch into my very first stitch. Okay, so then just to recap, when you are working on this, you turn your work. So you have a front side and you have a back side. Back doesn't look horrible by any means on this particular square. And the corners are different. So you need to remember that the corners are, and what side you're on, and the corners are different. You need to remember to grab hook size, otherwise it gets very tight and ugly. I believe just one chain in the corners is enough. It's lovely and square without even being blocked. And when you finish, you want to finish on a right side, like I have here. But the last 2 rows, they are the repeat, and you can keep going with this for as big as you want your square, whether you're making a big square blanket or just making lots of squares to finish off. So I'm going to end this one here, but you just keep going with the last 2 rows, and I'm just going to cinch that down and pull it out because I'm going to give it an edge. And all I'm going to do to finish this off, because it's quite a fussy kind of square, I'm going to join it at one of the corners, and I'm just going to put in a row of UK double crochets, which are single crochets in the US. So I put 1 into the corner and then 1 in every single stitch, going through the 2 loops as you normally would, all around, all along rather, the side. So I'm just going to give this a little tug, and it pulls that end in, because the way I join leaves a little bit of an end showing. But a nice simple UK double or US single crochet all the way along, and I'm working over the tail because that way it's far less sewing in, and who doesn't love that? So I'll just show you what I normally do when I get to the corner. So now I'll drop that and snip that little bit off, if it'll let me. Okay, so don't forget to go into these stitches along here. I made that one a tad tight. I will get it in. I will get it in, she says. I will get it in. There we are. Okay, and one more. One more there. So the corner, 1, chain 1, and 1 more in the corner, working over the tail. And I find that that finishes the corner so much more neatly than if you did 3 in the corner. I don't really like looking at the 3 in the corner anymore. So don't forget to go into your first stitch, which looks, there we are, hidden, and go in, oops, don't put that forward, whatever you do. Just 1 in each one, all the way along the side. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is 1 in each one along the side. At the corner, I shall do 1, chain 1, and another just to turn the corner, and I just think it looks a tad neater than 3. So I'm going to do that all the way along. I'll catch up with you once we get back to the start, and we'll finish this off together. I'm all the way back, and all I need to do now is my last one in that corner, chain 1 and then slip stitch to my first stitch. Easier said than done when you're at a funny angle. Chain 1, pull it down, grab my scissors, leave a nice long tail and pull that out. So all I have to do now is sew in my ends, which are very few. So I already cut the center one off when I first started doing this tutorial because I didn't want that sticking out, flapping around and looking in the way and confusing. So the beauty is there's just one. So I'm going to grab my darning needle, or maybe I found one. So maybe I'm not because I left them somewhere. I've got this one with a nice bent end, and just thread this up. And what I normally do is I look to the stitch, give it a little tug and hold this part so it doesn't distort, and then I aim downwards and go through the corner stitches. And when I come through, I hold on to this and I give it a tug, and the knot just disappears. But you've got to hold the stitches so that they don't distort and become, ugly is the word. So now, without making that rounded or anything, we're going to go back and go through some of these stitches along the side. And you can do that more than once if you like, because we've not got, you could have gone further, could have gone down and gone along this if you wanted to. But what I always do is when I've come out of this one here, I'll split that stitch when I pass it back the other way, and then it won't ever pull through because it's got that one. So I've gone through, I think that was 3 times now. So we'll just snip that off, and that finishes off the square nicely, I think. So that's how I do my little waffle square. I hope you like that one. Thank you so much for watching. And as I said before, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you could like, share and hype this video, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do this lovely slanted waffle stitch, or wavy waffle, as it's also called. Now, there are a few different ways to do this, and one of which is with the UK treble crochet, which is a double crochet in the US. But I've done mine with the half double, which is like half treble in the UK and half double in the US, because I like the compact way that it looks. I think it does look nicer. But you can do either stitch, but it's exactly the same principle. Okay, so for this tutorial, I've used some DK weight yarn, and I'm going to put a link in the description box to where you can find this, because I've been asked a couple of times about this really beautiful coloured yarn. It's in my shop, hobbyrocks.co.uk, along with all of the supplies here, the wool genie, the hook, and the darning needles, and the scissors of all kinds. So I'll put a link, as I say, in the description box for that. So just a word about this tutorial then. So if this is a standalone stitch tutorial, the left-handed version will start as the right-handed one finishes. There'll be timestamps in the description box which will show you that, and if you hover underneath the video you should see them. If it's part of a compilation, the right-handed and the left-handed will be separate. So if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Hopefully you'll be informed when new videos pop up. And if you can like, share and hype this video, it will really help my channel. So I'm going to clear everything away and we can get started on this. Okay, so to start this then, we're going to make a slip knot. And you can do that however you normally would. And if you struggle with it, I do have a little tutorial which I will put up here. It's only a short, so if you want to watch that, then please do. So we're going to crochet now multiples of 3. So we yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That's 3. So I'm going to pause this video then, and I'm going to make a swatch of around 30 chains, okay? So when I come back, I'll have all my chains completed. Okay, done my 30, so I'm going to do an extra 1. And what I'm going to do now is in the second chain from the hook. So this is the loop. This is our first one, which doesn't count. We're just going to go into that second one. I'm just leaning on my yarn. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so not this one, but then the second one, we're going to do a UK half treble crochet. All right, and we're going to do that in every single stitch. So we yarn over, we insert, we pull up a loop, we yarn over, we pull through all 3 of them. That's a half treble in the UK, but a half double in the US. We'll do one more. We're going to yarn over, go into the next chain, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 of them. So we're going to do that all the way to the end. All right, so I shall pause it then and catch up with you once I have done all of my stitches all the way to the end. Right, so we've made it all the way to the end. Now we're going to turn our work, and I don't do turning chains anymore. I usually do something called the stacked UK double crochet, which is a stacked single crochet in the US, but I find that stitch a little bit too tall for the UK half treble. So I do a chain and I pull it down until it has disappeared. And the reason I do that is if I go straight in with my stitch in here, then we get this funny little loop appear at the side. But you need that one chain just to end that stitch. Okay, so I'm going to do my first stitch in there, in that very first stitch, which is again another UK half treble crochet. So now we're going to skip 2. Skip this one, skip this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a half treble dropped stitch. We're going to go skip, skip, and around this one here, we're going to insert and get that whole stitch on our hook. So go in that side and out the other. And we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So it's a front post UK half treble, a front post US half double. Okay, so we're going to pull through all 3. So we've got one front post around there. We're going to do that again. We're going to go in and pull up another one, same stitch. Then we're going to do it again. So we're going to have 3 front posts all around that one and chain 1. So it's a little bit congested, but we want that, okay? So we've gone around this one. We're going to skip 2 more. You can see the fronts of the stitches we're looking for. Skip, skip, and we're going to go around this one next. Okay, so we've got once. Because of the chain, sometimes it's harder to get through all 3 at once, but then you just keep going and do 3 around that stitch. And it's making it a little bit uneven and wavy, but that is fine. It's gonna work itself out, because any work you do, you'll have a border. And we could have done 3 rows if we wanted to sort of get a little bit more of a foundation, but it's easier to spot where you're going. So again, we're going to skip, skip, and around that 3rd one, we're going to place 3. Okay, so, oop, went into the wrong bit. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Got too much yarn approaching. Yarn approaching. Don't forget the chain. And we're going to do that again. We're going to skip this one, and around that 3rd one, we're going to do our 3. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. Okay, we're going to do that all the way to the end. Skip, skip, and another 3 around this one. I think it is easier when you're learning to do this stitch. Don't forget the chain 1. Oh, I pulled it down. When you're doing this stitch for the first time, to just do that 1 row of half trebles, because if you do 3, sometimes it's hard to see where you're going into, but we don't want that. We want to be nice and obvious. So again, skip around this one. Once, twice, 3 times. Go on, say it, a lady. Okay, skip around this one. We might as well stay to the end of this row. It's the hardest one of all because of that foundation. Yarn bath approaching again. Don't forget the chain. It's it's actually getting there now. So I pulled too much out. Okay, I have got a wall genie. It's just I undid my work. I'll be honest with you. I made a mistake. Yeah, I know. It happens. Skip around the 3rd. And do our 3. Chain 1. Okay. Does twist a little bit, but never mind. So here we go. Last one. Skip around this one here. Once, twice, 3 times. Chain 1. And then in our very last stitch, those lovely 2 loops there is our last stitch, which is a UK treble crochet. Sorry, half treble or a US half double, just as we did at the start. So now we're going to turn our work. Just bear with me a second while I undo this yarn bath and I'll be right back. Okay, so it's looking really chunky and that's how it's meant to look. It kind of does that. So this you can make all one colour or you can change colours after every couple of rows, but I'm going to show you just the one colour. Okay, so this next row is kind of our repeat row from this moment on. So we're going to do that chain and pull it right down so we don't get that funny loop. And in this very first stitch, we're going to do our half treble, UK half double, US. Same as usual. So now we don't have that row of stitches. We have these sort of sets of 3. So we're going to skip the first one, skip the second one, and in this last one, that's the one we're going to place our 3 around. Okay? Once, twice, 3 times. I know you're all singing 3 times a lady now. Chain 1. And we're going to go all the way along to the end of our next one and go around that one and do our 3 around that last stitch and chain 1, and that's the repeat. Then we're going to just skip over these, go around that last one and do our 3 around there. We're going to do that all the way to the end. Determined to come back at me there. Okay, did I chain 1? No. Okay, and we're going to go in that last one and do our front posts. Okay, that is the repeat for this row. So I'm going to pause it. Don't forget the chain 1s, and I will catch up with you when we get to the end, and we'll talk about colours and we'll talk about the last row as well. So don't think that's the end. That was the hair that was annoying me. It now managed to... Do we always find that we crochet our hair into our project? So how it happens. Okay, I'll pause it then, catch up with you at the end of this row. Okay, so I've got to my last stitch and there's our 2 loops of our very first one. They look slightly elongated, but that's fine. Keeps our edges lovely and straight. Okay, so now we're going to turn our work. So if at this stage we've got 2 rows of our pattern, if you wanted to change colour every couple of rows, this would be the point that you would do it. And you could either just end off your colour, or you can change colour by, instead of doing the stitch or completing the stitch as we just did, you could get your 3 loops on the hook and bring this, your new colour, hold on to this one and bring your new colour through there if that's what you wanted to do. Okay, but we're not going to do that. So that is our repeat row then. Shall we do one more row together? We're going to do that chain, pull it right down and get our first stitch in. Doesn't really want to go in. There we are. Come on, persuade it. There we are. And now we're going to do our going through that third one and do that as our half treble. Okay, well, our 3 front post half trebles and chain 1. Okay then, so nice and simple all the way along, exactly the same as we have been. And what I like to do now, really, once I get to the end of this row, is to pause it and do quite a bit for you so that you can get to see what it looks like with a big chunk of it done, so you can picture it over a project rather than just a couple of little rows. But this is basically the repeat row, so you don't really have to keep on with like listening to the tutorial. It's done. But obviously the last row I need to show you so that you can get rid of these big gaps between, and how it finishes it off. So yeah, nearly at the end. I've got a squeaky hook now. And it gets much easier, as you can see, because now you're getting quite a bit of pattern underneath you. It's not looking so strange at the bottom, is it? Sort of twisty. Once, twice, 3 times. Go on, sing, you know you want to. And our last one. 1, 2, and 3. And we've got our lovely 2 loops there to go into, keeping the edges lovely and straight. Okay, so here we are. Now it's starting to grow. You can see the edges are nice and straight. That's just my yarn. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is pause it. And obviously I'm on the 3rd, kind of the reversey row of the pattern. So this, I would, if I'd change colour, I'd do another row of that colour. So I'm going to do a fair bit, and I'm going to come back to you once I have quite a bit to show you, and then I'm going to show you how I end this off. Okay, so we've got quite a bit there. Now I'm going to show you how to do the not say final row, but the row that's going to bring this together so that it's not quite so holy. And plus, if you've been if you've realised it, by putting those chains in, we've actually got more of a stitch count than we started. So we're just going to bring back our stitch count. So we're going to do the first one just as we were all the time in that first stitch. And what we're going to do is we're going to do our 3 around our last front post stitch there. No chain, go straight to the next. So we're getting back our multiples of 3. Just remember not to chain. And then that will pull that together nicely. And as I say, return our stitch count to normal. So when I'm actually working this and I'm not got a camera in between, I kind of find it easier to turn my work kind of like this way, and they go through really easy, much easier to find them. And so I'm sorry, my yarn got a bit stuck, didn't want to freely move. I'm using a wall genie, which I do have in my shop, and I love them. I never really work without them now. So much easier. And the best one is the original wall genie, which is this kind of plastic one. And I do have them, as I say, and I also have the spare spindles and bases so that you can switch them out if you're just doing 2 colours. I didn't do a chain, did I? I'm not sure. No, I didn't. I just, you know, when you kind of just go on and you're not sure if what you've done, because it's like sometimes when you're driving you do that, don't you? Think, where I'm going to be, I don't remember kind of getting here. That's quite a dangerous thing to think about, really, isn't it? But it happens. So we're nearly at the end, glossing over that, and we've got our last one. Hang on, here we are. Let's get in there. No, I caught another bit of a stitch with it. They are quite congested. There we are. 1, 2, and 3. Last stitch down there. Okay, let's pull that. And so what that's done, as you can see now, it's ready for a border. Sometimes the ends can get a little bit bulky. It depends really how you've worked with it. But if once you've got a massive expanse, and they work out on the next row normally. So yeah, that's the wavy waffle or slanted waffle. I think it's a lovely stitch, I really do, and it's quite chunky. The way it works up, it's very, very warm and good for a wintry project. Although it's quite holey, there's such a dense amount of stitch in there. Okay, well, I hope you like that one. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you could like, share and hype this video, it really does help my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye for now. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do the waffle stitch in rectangle. Excuse me. So we've done the waffle stitch square, we've done a straight edge waffle stitch just in the straight, we've done a round, I think we've done the slanted. What's next? The rectangle. So it's a lot easier than it looks, and once you get to about the row 4 or 5, you know exactly how to carry on and make this into a nice big blanket if you wish to. So a word on the tutorial then. If this is a standalone tutorial, the left-handed version will start when the right-handed finishes. If it is part of a compilation, the right and left-handed ones will be separate. So I've used a 4.5mm crochet hook. I've used some special DK by Stylecraft. This is the colour Wisteria. And all of the things that you see, the wool genie that was on, as well the yarn, and all of this you can get from my shop, hobbyrocks.co.uk. There is a link in the description box. I do ship worldwide, and it is weight based. All tariffs are included, and the lighter the package, the cheaper it is. So then, what else have I got to tell you about this? It is very simple to make this as big as you want. So you can just your starting chains here, your multiples of 3 will determine just how wide or how long you're going to do your blanket. So if you think of this as the length and this then as the width, so that is what determines the kind of ratio to side to length. So you can do less or more, it's quite simple. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this then. I'm just going to clear all this away and we can get started. So if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you could like, share and hype this video, it really does help my channel. And at the end, I'll pop a link. You'll just see me when all the videos pop in to the other waffle stitch tutorials. Okay, I'm just going to clear this then and we'll get started. Okay, to begin, we're going to do a slip knot. You can do that however you normally would. And we're going to do chaining of multiples of 3. So we're going to yarn over and pull through once, yarn over, pull through twice, yarn over, pull through 3 times. And we're going to do multiples of 3. I will pause it then because it will be boring to watch me do that. Plus, if I speak out loud and count out loud, it will put you off. So I'll come back to you once I've got enough to make a kind of a smallish swatch, but you can make this however wide you want by just increasing the multiples of 3. Okay, so I shall come back to you once I have done that. Okay, so I've done 15, but as I said, you can do more if you want to. And now I'm going to do another 6. This is for the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so in the 5th chain across, we count 1, 2, 3, 4. So in the 5th one, bear with me a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 5th, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So this is going to count as a treble, which is a UK term. So that is a double crochet in the US and a chain 1, and then we've done another UK treble. So if I say treble crochet, you work in American terms, you'll know that I mean your double. Okay, so I'm going to do another in the same stitch, and then I'm going to chain 1 and do another in that same chain. So the way this looks now, if I take that out, we can have a look at it. We've got this one with the chain in between. Then we've got 2, chain 1, and then another one on its own. So this is going to be our corners, and this two trebles together will be our side. Okay, so now we're going to place 1 in every single chain all the way to the end. Just 1 UK treble crochet in every stitch along. I won't pause it, I'll stick with you because it could be a little confusing. Just 1 in each stitch. Try not to go racing ahead, I'm trying to do it slowly. Just 1 in every single one, and then we will do our other set of corners once we get to the end. Not far to go. Of course, you see, you can make this as wide as you want. This is going to be kind of or the length of your project, or the width, whichever way round you have it. Nearly there. Okay, maybe I should have done a smaller swatch. What do you think? But I wanted to show you it, that it doesn't have to be like a little one. Okay, so we're now at the end, and we're going to do all of that again in this last chain. So we're going to do 1 and chain 1 and 2 more in the same space. Remember, these 2 are our side, and chain 1 and another one in the same chain space. That's a bit baggy, isn't it? There we are. Okay, now we're going to just mirror this and do 1 in every single stitch all the way along, and I'll go over that tail as I go, and we don't have to work it in, or sew it in, rather we are working it in. So just 1 in every single chain all the way along. So this time I'm going through the 2 loops of that chain. I went through 1 before, so now I'm going through the 2 loops, and we go all the way to the end. It's a little boring to watch this. It's the same as we did on the other side, so I shall pause it and I'll come back to you once we get to the end. Okay, so I've made it all the way along. Now, when you get to this, it looks like you have another one here, but you don't, because it is this chains that started us off. Okay, so in the third one up, which is 1, 2, 3, which is this one, and you've still got another one in there, which will be your corner, we're going to just slip stitch into that third chain. Okay, and now we're going to slip stitch into that chain space next to it. So remember, we've got 2 chain spaces and then the 2 along that side. Okay, so we're slip stitching into there, and now we have this perfect kind of oval rectangle. Okay, so now what we have to do now is turn our work, because and I'm going to snip that off if I can find the scissors in here. We don't want anything getting in the way to confuse the issue. So I'm just snip that off. If I can get in there, that's it. Left a bit behind. Okay, so now in this very first stitch, we are going to do our corner. So what I'm going to do now is the corner will consist of 1 treble, 1 chain and 1 treble, but I'm going to do a half corner. Okay, so in here I'm just going to do a stack, which is a stack double crochet excuse me, in the UK, or a stack single in the US. So I'm going to insert my hook and pull up my loop, yarn over and pull through both of them, and then in this left leg here I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over and pull through both of them. So that is equivalent of 2 chains in height. Excuse me, I just need to cough. I won't be a moment. Sorry about that. Bit croaky. I hope it will go away. Okay, so now we need to do some front post treble crochets. So it's front post double crochets in the US. So the first 2 we're going to do front posts. We're going to insert into that space and go around that whole stitch. So we've got the whole stitch on our hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull it up. Okay, we're going to pull it up and complete our stitch, and we're going to do that in the next one. So we're going to go between that stitch and out the other side, yarn over, pull it up a little ways and complete the stitch. So we've done 2 front posts, and in the next one we do a regular treble crochet. Remember, that's a UK term and they are US doubles. So in the next 2 we're going to do the front posts. So there's our regular, and we're going to go between that one and out the other side, pull up and complete the stitch. And we're going to do that again in the next one, between that stitch and out the other side, pull it up a little ways and complete the stitch. And now in the next one, a regular. We're going to do that all the way until we get to this chain space, which is our corner. So we're going to front post again. So between the one we've just done and the next one, don't forget to pull it up a little way, not too high, and again a front post in the next one, and then in the next one a regular normal treble crochet. And this is the first of our repeat rounds. Okay, we've got 2 repeat rounds and this is the first of them. Okay, we're just going to do this all the way until that corner. If I go too fast for you, just pause it and catch up with me. Maybe I should have done a smaller swatch after all. Okay, so we've got front post, and in our last one a front post, and now we're at the corner. So this is a full corner. The one at this end was a half. Okay, so in our chain space we're going to place 1 UK treble crochet, we're going to chain 1 and another treble crochet. So that is our corner. Okay, and then in these 2 at the side, they are both front posts. And why is that? Why is that they're front posts and there's nothing else? Because we're making the corner, which is the treble crochet that will go along with that. So when we come round the next time, it's not that we haven't got that stitch, it's we've just created it. Okay, so we've created the post, the normal treble, the two front posts, the normal treble. Okay, so now we're just going to mirror that all the way along this edge to the other corner. Two front posts, one normal. And we're going to do that all the way along until we get to the other side. Okay, so two front posts, one regular, two front posts, one regular. I'll catch up with you once we get to this corner, and we'll complete our round. Okay, so now I've done my two front posts. We're at the corner, so we're going to do the treble, one chain and treble. And now we've got two front posts in that corner, that side, should I say, not corner. Just done the corner. So now remember we did half a corner, and we're going to finish that off. We're going to do our last UK treble crochet in there, and we're going to chain one, and we're going to get to the top of our stitch, and we're going to slip stitch. Okay, so I'm going to do in a similar way to what I normally do when I do half corners, but it's not going to be identical to the way that I do it with granny squares. Okay, so this is what it looks like on this side, which is the reverse, but if we turn it over, you can see we've started making all this ridged texture, which is the start of our pattern. So what we're going to do now is we're going to slip stitch into the chain space. Don't worry, we're going to work over that so we won't see it. Okay, and we're going to do our UK stack double or stacked single crochet in the US, the same as we did before. So that's just doing one. I'll show you again in case you didn't see that. Did I do? No, that's fine. We go into that chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both of those, and in this leg at the side, insert, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over and pull through both of those. Now, I know I did that with you before, but just in case that you have forgotten it, I thought I would refresh your memory. Okay, so now our corners on this way round are 2, 1 chain and 2. So we need to place another UK treble crochet in that corner space. That's half a corner. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of the opposite of what we did before. So we're going to front post our first stitch, and then we're going to do two regular trebles in the next stitches, so one in each, and then we're back at this corner and we're going to do our front post. Okay, so now we're going to do a full corner in here, which is 2 UK treble crochets. This is the second repeat round, and that is only 2 rounds of repeat, but we will repeat them again, so don't worry if you're getting confused. Chain 1 and 2 more in that corner. So on the reverse rounds, our corners are 1 treble, 1 chain, 1 treble, and on the right side it's 2 trebles, 1 chain, 2 trebles. Okay, it does become easy to remember. And all the way along this edge we're going to do what we just did here. So the first stitch is a front post. Don't forget to put it up a little way, and then 2 regular UK treble crochets. Remember they're doubles in the US, and then the front post. You can see it sticking out nice and front and center for you, then 2 normal. So where we did 2 front posts and a regular one, we're now doing 1 front post and 2 regulars. So you can see that that does sit proud a little bit, so you can see which ones are your front posts. And then 2 normal ones. And that's our repeat. Okay, and as you can see, we're making that nice kind of box again. Okay, so 2 regular ones. Now sometimes, I don't know if you noticed that, because we are making this texture, it tends to pull a little bit. Might not do it on this one, but it doesn't. But it did obscure that stitch there a little bit. But if you pull it slightly open, you can see where you've got to go. It didn't really do it that time, but the time before it did. But I didn't really notice it until I'd already worked into it. So I thought I would, they sort of kind of can go across like that sort of thing and hide it. So make sure you're going into the right stitches. Okay, I've waffled on. Pardon the pun, I know. It's what I tell them. So we're going to do our front post in that last one. Now the 2 regular ones are the corner. So that's 1 and 2, chain 1 and 2 UK treble crochets. And then we're going to do our front post on that one that's sticking forward. Our 2 regular ones, 1 and 2. And then our front post. And then our full corner, which is 1 and 2, chain 1 and 2 more. So if I'm sorry if I'm motoring ahead of and going too fast, but normally I would pause it, and I was conscious of the fact that it was going on for quite a long time. So now we're going to mirror this side. We're going to do our front post, regular, regular, front post, regular, regular, front post, 2 normal, and all the way to the end. I'll catch up with you once we get to this corner. Okay, so my very last one was the front post around that last stitch. Okay, so we did already make our half a corner. So I'm just going to now finish that by 1. Just make sure. Did I? Yeah. So I just have to put my last 2 in there. And I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch to the top of my first stitch, turn, and I'm going to slip stitch into the chain space that we've just made. Okay. Excuse me. So now we're on the wrong side of the work again, and that means that our corner is just 1 UK treble crochet this time. Okay, so I'm going to do my stack, and now we are going back to doing front post, normal. Okay, so yeah, okay, so the first one is front post, and the second front post, the opposite of what we were doing before, and our regular one, and then front post and front post, and then the regular one, just as we did last time around. And you can see them just sticking nicely forward for you. I'll show you what I mean. I do this one regular, and if we put it down, you can see these stitches are more prominently forward, whereas this one is behind that ridge and hanging back. So these are the normal stitches, for us on this round, and these ones that are slightly forward are our front posts. Okay, so we're just going to repeat that front post normal all the way along until we get to the corner. So I shall pause it then and catch up with you at the corner, and we'll recap what to do around this edge. I've made it all the way to the corner, and the last 2 stitches were front posts, because remember, the one regular is now the corner, and we make one chain, one more, and then we go back straight away in with the front post once and twice, and then our regular, and then 2 front posts, 1, 2, and then our normal one, almost at the next corner. So our last 2 stitches along here are front post, because our corner is our regular. Chain 1 and 1 more. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way along here, front post, normal stitch, and you can see that they are sticking forward and hanging back, so you can tell them at a glance. Okay, so I shall go all the way along here and complete this corner, come all the way along here, and I'll catch up with you once I get back to the corner where we started. Okay, so we've made it all the way back. We've done the last 2 front posts, so we're going to finish that off with our normal one in that corner space. I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch to the top of our first stitch. Oops, get all of the stitch, turn our work. Now you can do this without turning your work if you want to, but it does mean back posts, and recently I know at least one of you has messaged me saying that you hate them, so we've done it this way because it's so much easier, and it does hang back a little bit nicer, I think, as well. Okay, so now we're at the corner, we're going to slip stitch into that corner, and we're going to do our front row, which means that the corners are 2 stitches. Okay, so we're going to do our stack, 1, 2, and we're going to place another stitch at the side. So we've got our corners now are 2 trebles, 1 chain, 2 trebles, and now we are doing our front post and 2 regular on their own. So the next 2 stitches are 1 normal, and then our front post, and then our 2 on their own. I'll stick with you for a little while until we get around this corner before I do any pausing. See, that could hide that one. That's exactly what I meant before. You have to just make sure that you don't miss any that are being hidden by your work. And our last one along this side is our front post, because our 2 regulars are that first part of this corner, which we're doing in the chain space. Chain 1, and now the first 2 of this next kind of row, if you like, are our 2 regulars, and so the next is our front post. Okay, and we're going to go all the way along this side doing front post and then 2 regular ones in the next 2 stitches, 1 in each. Okay, and as you can see, it's really starting to waffle, and but you can make this as wide as you want or as narrow as you want, but that is basically how we're doing this. So I'm going to carry on then with a front post in the next one, and then our regulars. So I think the repetition of those 2 rounds, it doesn't take long before you know what you're doing without any prompts. But if it helps to just write it down, then you've got a little memory aid to go by. But it soon becomes kind of second nature. At first it's different, that you're doing different corners, but once you kind of realize if it's the right side facing you, it's 2, 1 chain, 2 in the corner. If the wrong side is facing you, it's 1, 1 chain, 1 more. Okay, so we're almost at the corner. We'll stick with you to get around this side. So we've got our front post, and in this corner we're going to place our 2 regular, 1 chain, and 2 more in that corner. Okay, so incidentally, when you come to end your work, I think my personal preference is to end on the wrong side, and do a half treble round. But that's just my personal preference. This is how it would look if you were to finish on this round. I just feel like these are slightly longer, but you know, it's how what you think your personal preference is. Okay, so then we just do the same around this shorter edge as we've been doing it all the time, and go around that corner, which is just the same, but we'll do 1 more together, and then I'll pause it to get to the end. So we're finishing on the front post, and then we've got our 2 regulars in our corner, chain 1, turn it a little bit, and our 2 regulars in this corner. Okay, so we're going to front post, normal, all the way along. I'll catch up with you once I get to the corner, and I shall see you there. Okay, so now I'm back at the corner. I've done my front post there, and I just need to place my last 2. So ultimately then, what I said that I like to do is finish on the other row, and then do this last row with half trebles, following in exactly the same way. But it looks perfectly fine to do it this way. And as you go further and further, this starts to kind of more bunch up, if you like, and become more springy. But that's how we did it anyway. So all I would do now, if this was my very last row, I would chain 1 and just slip stitch into my first stitch, and I would do a chain, pull it down, leave a nice long tail to sew in or work in if I'm putting a border on, and just pull it through. And there we are. That's the waffle stitch in a rectangle, and you can carry on and make a blanket. And just remember, if you want it to be not such a long rectangle, you can do less multiples of 3. I did 15, and then I did my 6. But if you wanted it to be longer, then you just carry on adding multiples of 3 before you do your 6. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, sorry, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you could like, share and hype this video, really does help my channel. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.